station with the most local news. Fox 17 News at 10 starts right now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Doug Reardon.
And I'm Annie Satowski. First at 10, a Michigan woman facing federal charges, including wire fraud and money laundering, accused of stealing more than $2 million in unemployment benefits.
And at a time when the agency was really struggling already, investigators say she did it from the comfort of her own home. Fox 17 problem solver Ryan Cummings is live after speaking with the U.S. attorney who is handling the case. Ryan.
And guys, the shocking part here in all of this is that she worked for the UIA as a contract employee. Now, the documents we got a hold of allege that she used that access to steal millions and buy things like electronics, jewelry, and luxury designer handbags.
The defendant is innocent until proven guilty, and this is a complaint which only has allegations in it at this point.
Matthew Schneider is the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan. His office is prosecuting and investigating 39-year-old Brandy Hawkins.
And uncovered what appears to be a person who was entrusted with the authority of the state of Michigan and given the authority and the trust that the people put in her to faithfully handle unemployment insurance claims.
This federal complaint accuses Hawkins of verifying fake claims that filed for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA, which includes an extra $600 a week under the CARES Act.
Look, it's frustrating. I have people in my own family who are unemployed. Okay, so we know what that's like. We know what it's like for people who need to rely upon the unemployment insurance system. And when somebody takes advantage of that for their own personal greed and greedy gain, it's really disgusting.
In April, Hawkins was hired as a contract employee for the state to work as an unemployment insurance examiner, a position responsible for reviewing, processing, and verifying claims. Hawkins worked from her home in Detroit using a state computer. Her login, Hawkins B3, included a password, then a 6-digit security code that randomly changed. No one else had her same credentials. Hawkins was terminated on June 17th before the fraud was discovered, but she still had access to the state's UIA system until early July. We are still trying to figure out exactly how that happened.
But I think we have to ask our state partners, how is it that you can continue to commit crimes after you're no longer supposed to have access to it?
Investigators noticed the fraud last month when Hawkins discarded fraud stops on 2 accounts, basically paying out claims flagged for potential fraud. When reviewing her work items and call logs, they found that she had no legitimate reason to access the accounts, let alone modify them. And she disregarded notes on the claims that said, "Do not pay, do not close fraud investigation, and refer to fraud unit if claimant contacts agency."
We want that word to get out there. Don't do this. Don't steal money from the state, because you're not stealing it from the state. You're stealing it from the people. You're taking money away from people who truly deserve it when they need it.
An audit of Hawkins' logs found after her termination, she accessed more than 400 separate claims and fraudulently released more than $2 million. Investigators say it was intentional and targeted. That money supposed to go to those who need it most.
So it's a case of literally taking money and taking food out of the mouths of hungry people who are disadvantaged because they lost their job.
12 of the claims included the initials JR with 12 different Social Security numbers. All of them, though, were tied to the same bank account. On July 7th, authorities searched her home. They seized several cell phones and tablets and multiple high-end designer bags and luxury goods. $238,000 in cash, thousands of dollars worth of receipts for clothing, jewelry, and electronics. A backpack with a Bank of America debit card for ATM withdrawals, and several debit cards in her wallet.
If you are a criminal who is doing something like that, you've got to be acting fast. You've got to be acting expeditiously. You've got to be acting carefully. And that's one of the problems that we are uncovering here.
In some cases, as soon as the money hit one account, the funds were transferred to separate bank accounts under different names. So there's a chance she did not act alone.
We're watching. We are following these cases all across the country. We might be in a pandemic, but that doesn't mean that law enforcement stops. In fact, we have escalated our law enforcement efforts because criminals are taking advantage of the pandemic.
In fact, the U.S. Attorney urges everyone to be vigilant and not give out your personal information.
We're seeing fake counterfeit N95 masks. We're seeing people who are peddling fake cures for the coronavirus. We're seeing cases where people are getting calls and emails saying, give me your bank account number so that I can route you stimulus funds. And it's all a scam.
Now, if found guilty, Hawkins faces up to 20 years behind bars. The UIA tells me that she was hired by a state contractor who did perform a background check, but because this is an ongoing investigation, it would not comment further. Live in Grand Rapids, Ryan Cummings, Fox 17 News.